avoid an 0-2 start. Baker played pretty well last week against the Chiefs, coming off a good year last year. So why hasn't he gotten a contract extension yet? Well, The Athletic offered this. The Browns have yet to extend an offer to the #1 pick from the 2018 NFL Draft, according to sources. But while all is currently quiet, neither side has ruled out the idea of opening negotiations during the season. The relationship between Mayfield and the Browns remains positive, according to the sources from the Browns' perspective. They want to see Mayfield produce over a longer stretch of time in second-year head coach Kevin Stefanski's offensive system. Hey, Wilds, how much pressure is on Baker to prove himself, to have a big game against the Texans on Sunday?
I would say literally zero. I think they should win the game, but the idea, Broussard, that Baker needs to be thinking about his contract, and this question is a little bit of a low-key diss at the Texans, who, and this might be a hot take, I don't think is as bad as everybody thinks they are. They prove they can play a little bit. And that was sort of like people were underestimating Tyrod, underestimating Culley. I think they're going to be okay. So I think Baker should have zero pressure. I do think that they should start talking about the deal. And Baker shouldn't be in on it, but his representation should be, obviously, and hopefully it gets done. Baker's the quarterback of the future. You found your franchise QB. It's not like you're going to be like, go fish, let's go find somebody else. Sign Baker at some point, but no pressure this weekend.
Wilds, that was amazing. Because you talked about a subtle diss of the Houston Texans while putting a subtle diss on the Houston Texans. Because if you had any thought that they could actually beat the Browns, you would not say there's 0% pressure on Baker Mayfield. All right, and now I'm with you. I get it. We just saw the stat about 0-2, and they, unlike the Cowboys, are in a tough division. So if they lose this game, yeah, it's going to be a lot tougher on the Browns to get to the playoffs than we think. But I have no confidence whatsoever in the Texans. Look, I get it. They look like world beaters against Knicks Jaguars. They're fine. They're not playing Knicks Jaguars this week. All right, they're playing the Cleveland Browns, who will stomp them. All right, they're going to stomp them. So if I thought that Houston could win this game, Wilds, I would feel like there was pressure on Baker. Yeah. Because, look, the contract situation is what it is. But, no, I don't think they have any hope of beating the Browns. Henceforth, Nick, there's no pressure on them.
Go ahead, Wilds.
Go ahead, Nick. No, you go.
Oh, okay. Thanks. So I don't want to pile on Wilds this segment, but I actually disagree that people might be underrating the Texans. I think they might actually slightly right now be overrating the Texans. I'm thinking back on the committee's tiers, and we elevated the Texans off the very bottom row of expansion 2.0. They maybe should stay there. I think week 1's going to be an aberration. I actually think there's a lot of pressure on Baker this week because we know what the Texans are going to do. The Texans are going to dedicate their entire defensive scheme to stopping the run, because you saw how effective Chubb and Hunt were against Kansas City. Baker's going to have the most easy and open throwing lanes available. The Texans, right before the start of their season, traded away their #1 corner. So Baker should have a monster game. There's no reason for him not to have a monster game if he gets the attempts. And they're 13-point favorites. That's supposed to happen in college football, not week 1 of the NFL. What I find, to be honest, and it's something to watch for next week, more interesting in the short term for the Browns than Baker's contract extension, is the status of my guy, Odell Beckham Jr. Odell went from game time decision week 1 to midweek scratch week 2. It's now been almost a year since he got his knee blown out. For the Browns to be the team that I believe they can be in the AFC Championship game, that Broussard believes they can be, they need Odell, and they need Odell and Baker with reps to get on the same page. But this week, they don't need anybody. They will annihilate the Texans, and Baker there is pressure on him to play well because he's going to have it all. You're not going to have an easier matchup than...
Stay strong, Wilds.
Sorry, buddy.
All right, sorry. Leave it there. Talking some Dak and the Cowboys now in L.A. to take on Justin Herbert and the Chargers on Sunday. Dallas needs to win to avoid their first 0-2 start since 2010. Came close to knocking off the defending champion Bucs in week 1, but Close doesn't cut it in the standings, or so they tell me. This prompting Dak to say still plenty of room for improvement. Take a listen.
We just got to be cleaner. We've got so many weapons, and we've got a great scheme. Kellen does a good job of putting us all in the best situations. I think last week we just missed some opportunities, whether it was missing a throw here or, maybe missing a block or whatever it may be, right? That we had opportunities to cash in, and we didn't. But we're going to learn from them. Obviously, we're going to move forward and use that as a way to get better. And yeah, we've got so much in the tank. We've got so many great red zone plays. That was something big that we went into this offseason focusing on. So we're just going to put our hand in the bag and pull out our tricks and everything that we've got, and know that we've got a lot of improvement is going to come.
Well, he says the right things. Nick, is Sunday's matchup against the Chargers already a must-win for Dallas?
Well, he certainly says the right things until the very end. I'd like to know what else is in that bag that he's putting his hand into. Sounds dangerous. But, no, this is absolutely not a must-win for the Cowboys. Their season starts on the road against two projected playoff teams. And if you look at their schedule, after this game at the Chargers, it is as soft as it gets for the next 7 weeks. Now, that's disrespectful to Philly. We'll see on Philly. But after Philly, Carolina, the Giants, the Patriots, the Vikings, the Broncos. We'll see what the Falcons look like before you play a great team in the Chiefs. So even if they lose this game, they could easily be 6-3 after 9 weeks. So no, I don't think this is a must-win. I think it's a must-play well for Zeke. I would like to see what Zeke can do. And the other sneaky, interesting part of this game, Broussard, are the Cowboys actually going to have home field advantage? Los Angeles does not have a fervent Charger fan base. The Cowboys have a massive fan base in LA. You've got that gorgeous new stadium. Is it going to sound like a Cowboys home game? I'm interested in seeing that. Wow. But I think the Cowboys can lose this game and feel fine, Broussard.
Look, they're America's team. All right, everybody's always talking about the Cowboys. So if they lose and they fall to 0-2, and we know that teams that are 0-2 rarely make the playoffs. All right, it's like 12% of teams make the playoffs when they're 0-2. The last 20 to go 0-2 did not make the playoffs the last 2 years. So everybody will be like the sky is falling if the Cowboys lose this game. It'll be talked about ad nauseum for the next week. But I am with you, Nick. It's just not a must-win. Regardless of this stat that you just saw on the graphic, it's not, for two reasons. One, Nick already mentioned, the schedule's light. They don't play another playoff team or team that made the playoffs last year until week 11 when they got the Chiefs. And then the division they're in. It's the NFC least. We all know it's the worst division in football. The Giants are already struggling. Washington's not a world beater. And Philly, even if they're for real, they're still not that good. All right, so that gives them plenty of cushion. The one thing I disagree with you on, Nick, I don't think it's a must-play-well game for Zeke, although you'd like to see it. I do think it's a must-play-well game for Dak, though. Let's see, is he really back? Last week he looked great. If he has a clunker in a loss this week, then now I'm like, okay, where are we on Dak? All right, they need Dak to play well. He needs to play well for everybody to see.
Yeah, that'd be
all right, we got to get serious here. We got to get serious here. This that is owned by Purdue University. It's celebrating its 100th birthday. Do you think it's going to be on the field when Purdue plays Notre Dame? It will not. Here's the story, if we can throw up the quote. Notre Dame's not allowing it in. Notre Dame Athletics has restricted use of their main tunnel to their own football team and band, which is the only entrance large enough for the drum. Capitalized. We have been told that visiting teams and bands have to use a separate tunnel that is much smaller. Our drum, capital D, is about 10 feet tall on its carriage, whatever that is, and 565 pounds. So it doesn't even come close to fitting in this other tunnel. Look, you never want to give an opposing team bulletin board material. And Notre Dame, you have messed up in a major way. Because if I was the Purdue Boilermakers coach, I'd sit down my team. I'd say, gather around, guys, gather around. Gather around. We hit that field. You don't play for yourself.